Hey guys, welcome to my basement. This video today is going to be an upgrade process from the P1P to the P1S. It was originally going to be a tutorial, but given the complexity of the video and everything that needs to get done, I'm going to just follow along and do it myself. This video is going to be sped up, so you guys are going to be able to just sit there and watch me do it as I talk through the process and everything that they ask you to do, all the steps. Was it done right? Well, it was done right, but is it done well enough in a way that the common guy like us can take care of it? Or is it something that you shouldn't even bother with? I know I'm doing this because I want to, and that could be the reason for many of you guys, but maybe you just need an informed opinion on whether or not this is something that's worthwhile or whether you should just save your money and buy a P1S down the line and avoid the headache if there is a headache. So this video is going to be sped up. I'll do a voiceover. It'll be super awesome. So how about we just go ahead, get into the video. You get to watch me get frustrated as I sit there and watch videos on how to do this, and then you can save yourself the headache. Let's get started.
Hey guys, me again. So I'm going to talk to you about the things that I learned as I did this, as well as the things that I learned after the fact, so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made and get as frustrated as I do in this video. So the first thing Bamboo here wants you to do is to upgrade the cable chain onto the P1P. So upgrade from the extruder wiring over to the new extruder wiring, which is a heavy duty wiring. I honestly don't know what the difference is. I felt both wires in my hand and they felt oddly similar. There was one thing that I believe might just be something that happened with mine, but it could happen with one of you guys as well. So the cable that they provided, the new heavy duty cable that they provided me, was missing the little rubber plug that sits at the top of the printer. It comes off of the one that you have, but you have to essentially rip it off, and there's no point in doing that because they have you do that anyways. So it's probably just an update that they did to it so that people didn't have to break a piece of the thing that they just bought off if they don't need it in the first place. So another thing to keep in mind when doing this upgrade is you're going to have to take the entire extruder head apart so that you can get to the little mini board on the back of the extruder head and be able to plug in everything, well, the new cable that you're adding in. So you're going to plug a couple of cables on the front of it, and then you're going to take the screws off, take it off of the head, and take the cable that's plugged in on the back off. That cable there is what goes to the motherboard for the extruder head. That part you're going to completely take out and replace with the new one. Something to keep in mind that I learned the hard way is if you're doing this upgrade process and then you go and do the next video, please follow along on that video. I know you just took the back off. Trust me, you just took it off, but there are screws on the back that they don't have you take off that you need to take off for this upgrade. This was obviously done by Bamboo before they did the video for the P1S upgrade, but please follow along. I know you just took it off. I know it's going to take more time, but trust me, it's going to save you a ton of time at the end, because if I had done that, it would have saved me a lot of time. So now I'm just installing here the new cable, adding everything in, trying to get everything aligned properly so that it doesn't get smushed inside of the head once I screw everything back in. There are a few things that I would recommend doing that aren't a part of the video, which is once you take the poop chute out, leave it out. It's easier to get to all the cables that way. Just leave it out. It makes it so much easier for you to be able to reach back there. I know I had a hell of a time with my fat fingers getting back there with the tiny little cables and trying to plug them into the motherboard. It just saves you some time. Now, this is also a very important part. If you received the original P1P without the camera and without the LED bar strip, the new file that Bamboo Labs provides is a very different file. So go off and download that first. That has you print a much smaller version of that actually goes and sits next to the camera. Please go print that off. Don't cut this. This is not right. I did it because I didn't think that there was another file. I even did a quick search and couldn't find anything, But guess what? I didn't check the Bamboo wiki. It's sitting in the Bamboo wiki under the upgrade. So if you go to their store and click the camera LED upgrade bundle that they sell, and then follow the link to the wiki, there is an STL file in there for this part. So don't cut yours up. Don't do what I did. Be smart. Go find that file, print it off, whether before or after, and add it to your printer. It'll save you some time. Trust me. I had to do it after, and rewire managing that little tiny thin cable after the fact was a huge thing. If I would have done it before I put the side panels on, it would have made it so much easier. So here I'm just checking the length of the PTFE tubes that they sent me compared to the one that I had originally, because it tells you in the directions that you need one that's slightly longer than the original. I was trying to figure out which one of those was slightly longer. It turned out they were all slightly longer except for one of them that came in the package. I don't know what that one was for. I'm assuming that's for people who just bought the PTFE tubes that want to replace their original one and don't do the upgrade to the cable chain. Here I am just putting on new sticky feet onto the thing that I'm not actually supposed to put there. Gotta have your ginger ale, guys. Gotta drink it. Canada Dry only. No Schweppes here. This is not a Schweppes household. But yeah, no. So I did have a hell of a time pulling the screen off. I ended up ripping it off almost. But luckily nothing broke. I had to use a lot of force to get it out. In this next part here, one thing that I did notice is when removing the panel, there is the little Wi-Fi antenna sitting in there. Mine had a little bit of glue or adhesive on it. The one in the video seemed to just pop off. I had to actually like force mine off slightly. So just be very careful if yours is glued on, because if you do break it, you are going to need a new one, and you won't be able to use your printer unless you put everything on the SD card. And come on, who does that anymore? It's 2023, guys. Come on. So this part was something that I wanted to point out very specifically. It's something that frustrated me to no end, and I ended up damaging my printer slightly. I was able to fix it after the fact, but I don't want you guys to go through the same frustration that I did. The smart thing to do in this situation is to contact Bamboo Labs, provide them pictures and maybe in a short video. I don't know if this is exclusively to my printer or if this is an issue that's going to impact anybody who upgrades their printer. I would assume that it would be my printer, because my printer I bought right after the initial launch of the P1P. So my printer is almost, actually, it's almost over a year old, or maybe just almost a year old. I don't remember exactly. But it was just after all the pre-order bonuses went out, because I remember I tried to get one of those and I was at the tail end of it and I didn't get anything. So I don't know if this is particular to my model or the models that are older than, or as old as mine is, but the little head, the little screw holes there on the hinge were not going in. No matter what way I tried, they weren't sliding in. In the video, it showed that it just bloop, the guy just popped it in, screwed it down, no biggie, moved on. I thought that maybe there was a way to angle it in and then have that one piece slide in somewhere and then pop, it goes down, but I couldn't get it in any way. The metal frame there of the printer blocked me from being able to actually do anything. So then maybe I thought maybe it just sits on top, and those holes that are in there are the threads already, so it just sits there. It does not. It has to sit inside. Please contact Bamboo support if you run into this issue. Don't be barbaric like I was and use something to pry that back, because you can damage your printer and you could void the warranty if it's a newer printer. Just contact Bamboo support, have them tell you how to do it properly. They might tell you that you have to take that whole entire piece apart, but they might provide directions on how to do that, and it might be faster than getting frustrated and trying to smash this thing. So yeah, keep that in mind. It may not fit like it does in the instructional video. If it doesn't fit, please just reach out to Bamboo support. The more of us that reach out and let them know that this is an issue, the quicker there will be about fixing the instructions and telling you how to do it properly. Because it could just be that just need to make a slight edit to their original video. For people who have P1Ps that are slightly older than the ones that they're shipping out now, I know this was the case with the panels as well. With the panels, they provided additional instructions on what to do if your P1P didn't have the same configuration as the one that was provided for in the instructions. So they had you rip off a little piece of plastic off of that and install the side panels. Mine thankfully didn't come with that, so maybe they just removed that part entirely because it was still holding on with all the screws, so you don't need that anymore. But I remember when those instructions came out and you had to rip off that little extra piece of plastic if you didn't have the proper holes in your printer. So we're just gonna watch me get angry at this thing. It was like 2 in the morning. I was done. I was ready to get this done. And this slowed me down significantly. So please reach out to Bamboo Support if you run into this issue. I'm sure they have a workaround or they have a way of installing this that it isn't a pain. You can also just walk away from your printer for the night if you're doing it like I am, or walk away from it in a couple hours, go have a bite to eat, have something to drink, hang out, and then go back to it. You might be able to figure it out. I wasn't able to. I still don't know how you're supposed to get that in there, but maybe there's some magical way somebody's gonna figure it out. And if you do, please do comment that down below just to let everybody know who watches this video how to actually do that. That way maybe we can even then push that over to Bamboo Labs. So after the super frustrating time, as you can see my huge little grips there that I use to bend the metal back, don't do that. So here you're installing, or I'm installing the fan, I should say. This part cooling fan goes in on one side specifically, and then it has you install the panels, or the panel. So this is the left panel if you're watching my video. This is the right panel if you're me. So this is why that initial part, that initial warning I give you guys is so important. You need to uninstall all of the screws on the back of the printer so that this fits on properly and it doesn't bend the plastic. Nothing happened to mine, but it has you, the way that it has you do it is it has you screw all the top screws, all the screws in the front of the printer, and then it has you do the back. So I didn't realize that I needed to remove more screws until after the fact. So I had to then go back, unscrew the top, unscrew the front so that I could wedge it open just enough so that I could unscrew the back screws. You're gonna see me do that here in just a second. So here I am screwing in the front, you know, like a good little boy following directions, even though I ignored the entire first part of these directions that would have saved me a lot of time. So here I'm trying to figure out why there's still screws on the back of my printer, and in my mind at this moment I'm blaming Bamboo for not making directions that were done correctly, and I rewatched them and they do tell you that you need to remove all the screws in the back of the printer. So just watch that initial part. Even if you've already removed the back panel, just keep watching it. It'll tell you to remove more screws and it'll save you a ton of time. Another thing that this will help with is I ran into an issue with these screws particularly. So I forget exactly how many, but there's a couple of screws that hold the panel on the back on both sides. And on both sides, mine were stripped. So just to give you guys some context, I never opened my printers. I've always had great luck with this one. It was great the moment I got it. It's been great ever since. I barely do any maintenance to it. This thing's my go-to printer. But they were already stripped. I think that they tightened them too tightly and then just shipped it out to me, or that in the factory they didn't check that the screws were stripped. So I had a hell of a time with a couple of them. Luckily, I was able to get all of them out except for one, and Bamboo does provide new screws, so you can just swap them out. That's what I ended up doing. The one that I wasn't able to get out was on the right hand side of the printer if you're watching the video, left hand side for me. So here I am installing the motherboard cooling fan. This little guy was a little bit tricky to get in, but there is a very specific area where it needs to go. All you have to do is shine a flashlight in there and you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a little wedge that's designed for that fan, so that was thought ahead of time. The only thing I will say about this part is just be very careful. There is a double-sided tape on this, as well as on a lot of things that they provide for you. Be very, very careful. Don't accidentally get one of the cables stuck underneath because of the little divot that it's supposed to go in. You can damage a cable and cut it. So just be very careful you don't accidentally snag a wire and don't pay attention, and then you break it and then you don't know why your printer doesn't work. So here I am frustrated on the back. I'm gonna go grab a couple of tools here to try to get this thing out, and I was not able to get it out. It frustrated me to no end, but had I done this from the beginning, I would have realized that this was an issue and figured it out. So what I would do is, again, reach out to Bamboo Support if you run into this issue where your screws came stripped already and you can't get them out, because they might be able to provide you with something, whether that is getting the printer shipped back so that you could actually physically remove them and get your new screws, or they can point you in the right direction of how to get those out of there. I don't know. I know there's plenty of videos that show you how to handle stripped screws, so you can probably also even Google it and try to see if you can fix it on your own. But that was a huge problem. That's me just getting super frustrated with it. So what I ended up figuring is I can just sand down the inner ring of the hole so that it just sits over the screw and I don't have to remove it. Probably should have reached out to Bamboo Support, but what's done is done. It was late at night. I was trying to get this video done as quickly as possible. So here I am, just putting in all the screws, watching videos, putting in the screws, watching videos. Again, remember to please watch that first part of the actual P1S Upgrade Kit video. It'll tell you what screws to remove, and this way you don't run into the issue where I was already installing the panels and realized that some screws were stripped. You will realize that ahead of time and contact Bamboo Labs before you even get to the point where I'm at, or find a video that tells you how to do it. So here I am, just installing the screws at the bottom. I did realize one funny thing when I was doing the bottom screws is that my rubber feet, I don't know if this has happened to anybody else, got bent. They're completely deformed at the bottom. Here I'm installing the pre-print, well, you have to pre-print the fan holder for the filter. Please do that. I started filming the video and realized that I didn't do that, and I needed to go back and print it. So the recommended filament to print this in is PETG. Please print it in PETG. Don't be a fool like me and print it in PLA. The initial one that I printed broke as I was taking the supports off because it is rather thin. So I went and I didn't have any PETG, so I printed it in PLA Plus. That seemed to do a little bit better, but just follow the directions, print it in PETG. Just get yourself a roll. It's not like you're not going to use it, and this thing prints it great. So just do that, print it off, everything will be awesome. There's the back panel. Me realizing as I install it that I missed more screws towards the top, and that was great. So I had to remove them. There I am removing the screws. This is why that first initial part of the video is so important, because there's a ton of screws on this thing. There's so many screws. So many screws. So here I am just installing the back, getting all nice and aligned, not tightening anything down too much, so it gives me room to wiggle it around if I need to. So while I screw this in, this video was actually the videos were rather easy to follow, quite simple. I would recommend that you watch them once beforehand and then watch them as you do it. This final part here is just me adding in the front cover. It's pretty easy to install. You just need to get it in on one side first and then snap in the opposite side. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Make sure again to be very careful with that Wi-Fi antenna that's in there. There is a little slot where it goes, so you can just slide it in there. Mine had a little bit of adhesive like I mentioned before, so it was easy to just stick it in, and that was pretty much it. Make sure all your screws are in properly. Just go back and tighten everything. Like I said, I left everything loose in the back. It's just me adding the last final things here. This little door rubber thingy that goes in here, it is an adhesive. Please do make sure to add in the magnets that go in the two little slots where the door is gonna close before you add this, just because if you don't, it's gonna be a little hard to rip the adhesive off again and then hope that it sticks. It took me some finagling, but I finally got it in there. But then the front door panel is pretty easy to install. Screws come in there already. You just need to unscrew them, hold them, and then screw in the appropriate screw where it goes. Make sure you get the door in there the right way in. I accidentally did lose a little piece there, which is right underneath the printer. If you saw that, good. You can make fun of me. If you didn't see that, welcome to my world. I looked on the floor like a madman for like 10-15 minutes. Overall, the instructions were great. This whole process was quite simple. It wasn't as difficult as I originally thought it was going to be. However, it does require you to pay attention to the directions. So here I'm just putting in the last piece, and now the printer is done, guys. Hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.